Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is Patrick here for another video today, and it's going to be the second review because we did one yesterday for another gentleman, and today we're going to be doing the second one, and then we're going to be moving back on to our 2NL to 200 video series. I know lots of you are eager to see the rest of those. Those are coming, I promise you. You will see those next coming up. For today, we have the review of a 5NL session on PokerStars for Mr. Sosabarbaro. I think I'm saying that correctly. 5NL stars. So this is going to be, as far as I can remember, it's still extremely close to 2NL, but slightly better. I would say it's a little bit of a step up on stars. It's a bit tougher on that one, in my opinion, but it's still very, very soft, I think. We will be probably encountering some slightly more aggressive players and some slightly better play, but it's still extremely low micro stakes, so it's probably going to be very, very close to the normal shenanigans we're used to. Just before we start, as always, guys, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the content channel right now. Just press the button, press the bell icon, all the algorithm stuff that the crazy computer likes. Please go ahead and support me by doing that. And everyone else who already has, if you're already a member of the Discord and the Twitch, if you're already subscribed on YouTube, thank you so much for the support. You just don't get how much it really means to me. It makes a tremendous difference, and I'm very, very happy to keep rolling out this free and fun content. Hopefully educational, not too much entitled lording, as some of you in the comments previously said. But hell, I like being an entitled lord. I can go with that, especially if it means you guys are learning from it. So 5NL, here we go. I'm going to do this in one video, okay? So it's probably, this is a 30-minute video. I've been debating this for ages, what I'm going to do with this. I was going to do 2 VODs. Nah, I'm going to do one super long VOD. It's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be between sort of 40 and 60 minutes. It's very, very long. I appreciate that. I don't care. For the review VODs, it is exactly what if anything, this is less for content and more for educational purpose. You guys are going to get a shit ton out of these reviews, and they're free. So honestly, if you're the kind of person that feels like you want to watch this and learn, this is probably for you. Whereas if you're looking for a 10-minute fucking Lex Veldhouse like turbo content video, shout out to Lex Veldhouse, by the way. But if you're looking for that, that's what you're looking for. Here, you're probably going to get more of a kind of slow burn educational focus. Anyway, I'm going to stop blabbering and we're going to begin. Let's go. So remember, this is a review VOD, guys. This is not me playing. This is not my cursor moving. This is Mr. Sosabarbaro's session, which he did a couple of days ago, and he's submitted to me for backseating. So here we are. As always, I've only had a brief glance, making sure that there's no sort of unofficial or naughty content on here or anything surprising. So we're all good. All these hands are basically new to me. I've only had a quick glance at a couple of them, but overall they are completely fresh. So hopefully we will be learning together and having fun together and seeing if we can get some info in. I'll only be pausing the video, as always, if there is sort of relevant information to go through. I'm going to try and let it run as much as possible, because I know I do talk often, and I appreciate that. But I mean, hell, for free content, it's pretty good, to be fair, out of most things. Table 2, I suppose, like the Jack X boards, we do tend to do pretty well. I'd rather have a backdoor flush draw, but with one of the worst ace X we have in range, I don't mind range betting. I don't mind checking. I think at population, it might just be better to just go ahead and pop and over c-bet. But theoretically, I can find ourselves a check there some of the time, and I think easy fold versus turn probe from villain. I'm not gonna lie, these card textures are egregious. I hate them. I detest them with a passion. I really do. Easy 3-bet with King Queen suited for value. There's not like, doesn't really change too much, but I don't know. I just kind of not a big fan of them. Also, this RNG, like massive, like I mean, it is what it is, right? If you're used to it, fine, but it's just in the way for me. You guys can't see it because I've actually cropped it out, but underneath this is a huge Google page that says RNG with adverts and whatnot, and not for me. Easy 3-bet with the ladies. Table 2. Yes, please. Let's get some money in that. It looks like there's a couple of better... I mean, you've got some medium, small to medium sets of stats on some of the players, but some of the VPIP PFR spreads seem slightly better here. So this actually looks like not a particularly fun pool, even for 5NL. Looks like some better eggs in here. Or, micro stakes better eggs anyway. Gigachag 69, table 1. What a legend. Giga Chad 69 with a Chad face. We can do anything we want with the King Jack. Mixing mostly call and fold with a tiny bit of 3-bet. I would love to start with check. Facing check back, I suppose we could bet this some of the time. I would probably mostly check, but again, against population, you're probably okay. Just be wary. Obviously, tens, king 10, queen 10, jack 9, ace jack improved, so do be careful. But we are probably ahead most of the time. I don't mind betting there some of it. Also, if you're going to go through the detail HUD stats, one thing I used to do years ago is I used to do that. I used to sort of bring up the information boxes and really dissect them. I'd probably suggest for 5 and L, I would be less specific with that data. If anything, I would start adding to your main HUD these boxes that underneath, your generic HUD boxes, rather than sort of really dissecting every single spot. Just because it's not super relevant unless you've got massive amounts of data to go through the specific spots. But, it's good that you're doing it. It's very good. It's not a negative at all. But I think it's just a case of, time investment. I'd rather just sort of be put in looking at generalizations unless I have massive data to sort of make quite big sort of exploitation plays. 5-6 suited, again, it's kind of... it's one of these hands where it's you could 3-bet it, but you'd mostly just fold with a bit of call. Not the best candidates, though, to go ahead and 3-bet. Most of the time anyway, but they can be there some very small amount of the time. But although the ace-8 is a nice easy open, table 1. Interesting set of stats for that guy tanking on the small blind table 1. He's a 15-13, but he's got a 12% 3-bet. Interesting. He's almost 3-betting more than he's actually opening. This is also going to be interesting because the recreational tag for your table is yellow and mine's green. So this yellow is going to be what is this? I can get behind betting or checking table 1. I suppose we could bet most sizes. Probably around half is good. 3/4 is probably okay. Do some small betting probably some of the time as well. I think you're bang on the money with this size. I like it. Sort of 50-60% or so. On the turn, against a recreational, I'm always betting. Against a reg, I'd probably mix. Preferring to have a spade. But again, against recreationals, we've got a clear value bet, in my opinion. Just one thing I want to know, I'm just going to pause this very quickly. Technically, right? So we said exploitatively, we can sort of bet again versus a fish and, what size you want to choose. Technically speaking, on this is more of a theoretical thing, okay? For theory, for any of you sort of theory nerds. I'm going to ask you a question real quick because I really want to see what you guys say. And obviously, just at home, you're going to think of your own size. But what if you could choose here between sizes? What would you choose? Because honestly, I bet you'll get it wrong. The size is actually mostly overbet here or check. I think I would think there's a tiny bit at large as well. So don't hold me to that. But mostly overbet because your range here technically is what are you betting here? That you want to bet the flop and then continue betting the turn. You don't have queen deuce or queen 4 and big blind does, especially, at this population, maybe it's different, but I would, I think they have those. You're really betting a really strong queen or better. And in terms of your whole cutoff range, which is wide, well, relatively wide, it's you don't really have enough of them. So you're really polar here. So really, this would be a lovely spot to either overbet or check. An ace-8 would probably not fall into an overbet there. However, exploitatively, half, 3/4 against a fish to get called is fine. But again, this would be quite a nice spot to overbet actually. Maybe not with the ace-8, but with a lot of your range. Easy fold with the 7 tray. Folding the ace-6. What's that guy at table 1? Is that Bender with the... I was thinking it's funny looking at all the avatars. Some people got some funny ones. We can open Queen Jack half time, give or take. I know you guys can't see it, but we've got an RNG on. It's curious, like we've got an RNG open here, but we're not using our RNG. So I don't know what the purpose of having our RNG is if we're not using it. We could probably go ahead and just range bet table 1, I suppose. I like it. Small size is good. I would say that we have a pretty clear check here. I would think we want to be betting much better hands and much worse. Hoping villain checks. He doesn't. So as played, trying to think of bluffs that villain can have. I suppose he can have King 10, King Jack. We block some of them. What better hands can we have to call? Well, I suppose we can have Ace X. We can have flushes. We can have all the boats. Also, the big blind does have a massive amount of flushes here. I mean, you could argue, I've got the Jack of Diamonds. You want your villain to be bluffing with the Jack of Diamonds. You want him to have King Jack or Jack 10 or something with the Jack of Diamonds. You do block some flushes also, but it's kind of like this is a good bluffing card for villain that you're blocking. The Queen is irrelevant as a catcher because he shouldn't be turning Queen X into a bluff. So he's going to have loads of flushes, and then to call the flop, like, and then barrel and then bluff the river. Sorry, it's like Jack 10, King Jack, King 10, and we block most of those. If we were going to call, we'd probably just call with like King Queen, or we'd call with like an ace, and then obviously we have better. So I think Queen Jack offsuit, it looks deceptive because this looks like a nice combo, blocking some flushes and so on. And I suppose you could argue it blocks ace queen, but it is in the grand scheme of things, this is a quite a clear fold. I think it's quite an easy fold if I had to guess, compared to the other range of hands we can have to continue. As a call or a raise on the river, that is. Easy open, the King 8 and the Jack 9. I love Jack 9 suited. I don't even know why, to be honest. I just think it's a really sexy hand. So table 2, we should be checking a whole bunch. So, okay, so this is something we can quickly go over. So exploitatively, and then going back to the exploit universe because we're at 5 and L, exploitatively, yeah, betting here probably just makes sense because you just get your villains to fold. Technically, we should be doing tons of over betting and large betting with range though. We shouldn't really be betting like small to half. We should be really going big or over betting because we're so polarized with the amount of hands that we are technically sort of c-betting for value here. Also, the one more thing to say is King High mathematically. It depends if you want to play strategic or exploit, but mathematically King High just doesn't really serve well as a bet here, especially without a spade or without like equity like King 10 or King Jack or something, because it's just like we're just ahead of villain's entire range. Like betting it, turning it into a bluff, getting raised by Jack 10 and folding, it just makes no sense. And then technically you can have loads of better hands to bet with. Even having King 8 here with like the 8 of spades or the King of spades is just tremendously better than betting here without it, and you're technically wildly over c-betting massively. If you're betting all your King X without a spade, you're saying to your villain that you're betting your entire range. But again, we're at 5 and L, aren't we? So it doesn't really make too much difference, but just so you can see the theory, I would personally, like if I was playing the stake and trying to make attain the most win rate out of it, I'd probably, I mean, to be honest, what you've done is probably technically best. You bet sort of a kind of half-ish pot size, but technically it's a very, very bad size theoretically. Exploitatively, you know, if you want to say to yourself, look, I'm just going to c-bet most of my range on all these board textures, get shitloads of folds, and then I don't mind like sort of putting myself in tough spots, it's fine. But later down the line, this is a bit of a dusty bet, and it's going to put you in a lot of awkward spots, and you're going to get binned in spots as well, where you're sort of over bluffing and then kind of check folding the best hand and putting yourself and kind of cucking a lot of your lines. But you know, it is what it is. But just a note for the future. Also, at micro stakes, it's okay to have check calls and check folds and so on. You don't have to just sort of over exploit by c-betting everything. It's up to you what you want to do, but I probably would have just check folded that particular combo. I think we do a lot of calling with King 10 suited. There's probably a small amount of 3-bet. It's up to you. Again, we've got an RNG. You can't see it, guys, at home, but we have an RNG, but we're not using it. So if you're not using it, I'll get it out of the way so it's not taking up your screen and making it look ugly. King 10 there we could have opened, but it's not full frequency. Again, we're not rolling though, so just something to think about for the future. A lot of ace queens though. We'll take ace queen. We like ace queen. Prefer the suited one. Gets a very angry cat in the hijack table too. So against the button, I believe you can. I can't remember off the top of my head. I believe there's some call, and then we can do a bunch of four betting. I would say just quickly look. You've got no information on the person that three bet you, but I think you could have some four bets here. A very small amount of call. I mean, you probably could mix some call versus the button, but mostly four betting and folding. But I kind of like. Excuse me, I don't hate the fold, but I don't like just snap folding. Like, at least look at the stats and also consider like maybe having some four bets if you feel confident doing so. If you feel like population unknowns don't three bet bluff enough, fine. But I would think I think that they do tend to have some three bet bluffs that we can sort of four bet attack with our ace queen off and have some calls against. But it's up to you. You know, it is up to you. But I would consider it at least. This queen 10 suited is a disaster though. Unfortunately. The entitlement begins. Against the UTG Open, even a Whaley opponent, I know you've got a 31-28-11 here, but it's only over a 176, so it's, you know, it's not really a very relevant sample size, but it's just a basic generalization, I suppose. But Queen 10 suited, even Queen Jack suited to some extent, it's too aggressive of a three bet. Like, you would just have better here. Like, I would even rather just have, if you're going to over three bet against a wider range, I'd rather three bet like King 5 suited, King 6 suited, Ace 3 suited, Ace 2 suited more than like Queen 10, Queen Jack. This, like, treat this how you would treat like 8-9 suited. Same for you guys at home. Same with like Jack 10 suited guys. Like treat them the same as treat them as like the kind of mid to sort of middle to high end connectors. They're not great for three betting very often. So this is a bit too aggressive, especially versus like strong opening ranges like the hijack, the UTG, for example. So just bear that in mind. Just be a little bit careful with them. See what villain does. Clear fold versus 4-bet. I know this guy's slightly wider, but we've got Queen 10. It's not a good hand. I would just be 4-bet it. Folding this. This call is way too thin. Way too thin. Think about it like this. If villain could theoretically 4-bet bluff like Ace Queen, or, I mean, he's not supposed to have like King Queen, but like if this guy is over aggressive, he probably could have King Queen, but like Ace Queen is what I'm saying, or like Ace 8 suited or something, or Ace 5 suited, those bluffs are beating Queen 10. So you're losing to bluffs even, you know. So that's why this isn't really a 3-bet call, for example, versus the 4-bet. Interesting check though. I would think this population is a bit more capped with their 4-bets and then check on flops. So I would put him more on a hand like Ace King. So I would think if he's going to bluff, he would keep bluffing, and then if he's going to value bet, he would just bet. So in terms of sizing, I mean, I'd probably go small here. I think like this is too big. Like if we're trying to get called by 10s and jacks, this is it's not awful, but it just puts us in a box. Like imagine this guy checked to check raise with like Ace Queen, or no, sorry, Ace Jack of clubs or something, or Ace 10 of clubs, or Ace 5 of clubs, you know, and then he might delay check raise turn. It puts us in a lot of awkward spots, so do be careful. And you can still have queens, kings, aces, for example, as well. Yeah, clear check back. I actually had king, queen offsuit. That's way too aggressive of a 4-bet bluff for him to have that, but it's also similar. I mean, if he was 4-betting as bluffs correctly and just had like ace queen, it's still the same thing. Like you just dominated even against bluffs. So that's why you kind of have to be careful to some extent. Probably would have gone smaller, though, betting the turn. If you're targeting 9s, 10s, ace king, that is like somewhere around half or third probably would suffice rather than like sort of 2/3. So sorry, what happened here on table 2? Did we open and get 2 calls? Let's just quickly double check. Let's have a look. So we opened, got 2 calls. Yeah, I mean, yeah, going a little bit bigger here is also okay. I'd generally be sort of doing a small c-bet. If you also, one thing, you've got 2 active tables and you can't even see half of it with this when you're taking a note. If you're going to take notes, do it outside, like do it off the tables, sit out, and then do it, just so it doesn't sort of, you know, put you in a spot where you could potentially time out. Also, you want to be focusing on the hand you're playing. I can get behind this overbet though on the turn. I can get behind that. I like it. Absolutely pushing value and fold equity. Obviously, our hand is clear value. Couple of very easy folds. More easy folds. Pocket 8, snowmen. I love 9s. 8s, sorry, not 9s. I love snowmen, 8s. Couldn't tell you why again, but I just love it. Jack 9 suited, pocket 8s, some of my favourite hands. So versus a 3-bet, like, we have a very easy call. I would think there's probably some 4-bet, but mostly calling. Against this size, like, I would automatically target this I mean, again, apologies if you're watching, but this player here, this 3-bet size is a recreational size. So I would tag this person as a recreational straight off the bat. Also, just a very easy call in position with a very nice hand. Not a very good board though, but the big blind is supposed to theoretically be polarized, but again, it's like you're at 5-L, aren't you? So I was going to say, just because you've snap checked here, you guys at home, I know for a fact that most of you are going to immediately go, haha, this is a really easy check back. It's not actually a really easy check back. I mean, it depends whether you're thinking about it exploitatively or strategically, but most of the time, if the big blind's 3-betting at least close to normal, like he's got some proper 3-bets, like 10-6 suited, for example, 10-7 suited, or like 5-6 suited and ace-10 off and ace-jack off and whatever. He's going to have a range which has either hit this or hasn't. I know this is 5-L, but I'm just saying, like, strategically talking, like, he's supposed to have a lot of hands that have hit this board or haven't. So it's like his check here doesn't mean he's super weak or super strong, technically. So actually 8s can fall under a hand where you could actually just like kind of mergey bet for value, and also you would get so much protection, and you're almost buying the turn to get to the river by betting and checking back a lot of the time. Because just say for sake of argument, he had a hand like 10-7 of hearts, raised, didn't bet the flop, you could just bet like sort of half pot or so with your 8s. And also you just get to see rivers and stop him from just sort of bluffing you later down the line because your hand just isn't really good enough to call a lot of the time. That's strategic. I mean, exploitatively, I mean, if I was only playing 5-L, I mean, yeah, I don't hate checking back. But just saying, you could absolutely go for a like a kind of half pot bet here on the flop if you wanted to. Against check now, this is just a clear check. Now we're just going to showdown. We're not repping anything, getting value from anything. Now we just want to get to the river. This guy could just have like deuces 3-7s that we're beating. He might have some king jacks, but probably not as likely. And now we just easy clear check on the river. Villain's got, so this is something to mark. So this guy is a recreational player from his size, but ace-10 off is surprising. It is a very good candidate to have as a 3-bet, which I wouldn't expect a rec to have. So I might not target him as a rec. Maybe I target him as like without sounding nasty, like a weaker tag. Like just a weaker regular. He's got a decent 3-bet range, but then is checking down 3 streets where he's got a clear value bet on the river, in my opinion. So just something to think about, because obviously he can get called by a worse pair, a queen, etc. Even a worse ace. Like ace is up with a 7, with a 6, whatnot. But though, if anything, those are really good notes to make. Like you know that guy, like for example, I would have just marked him as a recreational, but then after seeing ace-10, I want to know that he can 3-bet that. Ace-10 suited, we actually mostly 4-bet in this dynamic. We could do some calling, but we do mostly 4-bet here. Ace-10 suited performs better as a 4-bet out of position, but obviously we do want it as a call. King-Queen suited, however, in the same dynamic, actually prefers calling because it just plays better as a call. It doesn't want to like ace-10 suited is kind of the hand where we're dominated against all of value. King-Queen is a little bit closer. We're only losing to like ace-king in terms of domination, whereas ace-10 we're losing to ace-jack, ace-queen, and ace-king. Also, King-Queen suited, it's just like in terms of making nut flushes and whatever and facing 4-bets. Facing 5-bets, King-Queen's not as great, and ace-10's more of a clear, not so much bluff, but it plays better as a bluff, whereas King-Queen suited plays better as a call most of the time in this dynamic. It changes in other spots, but like specifically the sort of like the button cut off dynamic. Facing a small size, I think ace-10 is almost always a call, I would believe. I think we're way ahead, way behind. Keep villains bluffs in. and not do it in versus his continuing range, which is likely just better than ours most of the time. Also protect your other hands that might call the flop bet. For example, you've got a pair of jacks here or something, or you've got like ace-5 suited, protect those calls and keep villains' bluffs in my opinion. We're in the tank though. Oh no, we had a lag spike there. Whoa. So yeah, we 4-bet King Queen suited and got jammed on. That's unfortunate. King Queen suited in this dynamic though should really be a call in my opinion. But it is what it is. We raised the ace-10 suited table 2. I'm not thrilled with the ace-10 suited for reasons we've just explained. Although we have a couple of very easy opens with it. Whoa. So King 7 suited table 2. This is a thing, and this can be exploitative as well, but 6 max UTG, like sort of King 5 through King 8 or so, is like a kind of mixed open. In the hijack, they start becoming more pure opens, like ace-5, ace-6, ace-7, ace-8. Get them in your opening ranges, and then when you get to the cutoff, you can now start opening all suited King X. And I think is it 5 or 4? I can't remember what the Queen X are, but you can start opening wider from there in the cutoff. The hijack, though, we have a clear open with King 7 suited. To snap fold this is a bit of a mistake, in my opinion. Just double checking the villain didn't open. Yeah, we just fast folded. Yeah, we need to keep a note on that we've potentially got a couple of hands that we're not opening that we should be. Also, get some hotkeys. Get like a fast fold hotkey and so on. Get those set up. Just for the future use. Just to speed up the amount of hands per hour you can get in, and also stop you having to use brain power and keep clicking mouse buttons. So what have we got here? So table 1, we opened the King 5 suited, villain checked. We decided to check back. I can absolutely get behind that. Versus a lead, I would just call this most of the time, I would think, because again, it's way ahead, way behind. I don't hate the raise versus a recreational, but it's like, ooh, we put ourselves in a bit of a scary spot with a lot of other hands, and this is a really good hand to have as a protected check back call to protect other hands like 9-10 and things like that. Versus the small size, yeah, I can get behind a raise here. It looks like villain's got something like ace-jack, queen-jack. If I had to guess for that size, he probably would have bet bigger with a king himself. So yeah, I can get behind the raise. You managed to get maximum value from ace-9. We'll take that. That's a player you want to mark, who you want to absolutely get the maximum from and never bluff. Like ever. Like ever, ever, ever. So that's the player you should mark and be careful against. Something to think about anyway. Again, we haven't put those marks in. Those are some of the notes we absolutely want to put in. I suppose it depends how often you're playing the stakes, but 4 do suited, easy folds, as is the 9 do suited. Again, okay, yeah, nice. We're putting in some notes. Perfect. Although, again, I would prefer to sit out and then put those notes in, because obviously, look, like you're in between hands. It's cutting you in and out between your notes, and you could potentially miss a hand or time out of a big hand. Again, with the just to reiterate, having the hotkeys, it just gets you more hands per hour. It increases your win rate directly by being able to see more hands per hour. It makes a massive difference and stops your brain from having to function on moving mouse about the mouse button about and spam clicking buttons, and it gives you more time for your time bank as well, which is nice. You open ace queen, we've got a call. We do a lot of checking out position, but this is a board that we do a decent amount of betting on. I can get behind a larger bet on this board as well. I would think I'd like a lot of small sizes, but we can absolutely go some big sizes as well on the king queen X. So we have a kind of mixed decision with queen jack. We're mostly mixing between call and fold with some 3-bet, I believe, against the hijack. Against a short stack rec, I prefer a call though. I think we have a clear check call, in my opinion, against a half stack rec. So this is a spot where it's like, if you know your recreational is quite a bit of a wider fish and will call wide and you get maximum value from top pair, decent kicker with a gut shot, backdoor flush draw, then fine. If we're going to check raise, get it in. But what I'm saying is, to check raise and get it in, you're probably not pushing a massive edge. Where, so king jack is a little bit close, where I'd rather have just like jack 9 or, like jack 8, 8, 9. Or like maybe something just a little bit stronger, like king jack, for example. Just make sure we beat more jack X and so on, and we do better versus the draws and so on. But it is what it is. Although we managed to get the money in on the turn, I love that. Pocket fours are mostly folding. Yep, excellent. Oh, and villain makes a boat on the river. That's a Sag. Is what it is. It's good for the all-in adjustment, if anything. Although it's always unfortunate when you get your money in extremely good and they get there. But hey, that means the games are not dead. Yeah, Queen Nine's a fold. Again, we're going through I know you're making notes and stuff, but again, just to sound like just to sort of repeat the same thing, it's like there's hands going on in the background that we're timing out on. Like, imagine you got aces there and you timed out. Also, it's hard to make meaningful notes when you're in between hands, so keep an eye on it. 8-7 suit should be a low frequency open. Again, we haven't used this RNG once. That 8-7 suit is a very low frequency open, so be careful. Although easy open deuces and easy fold with the Jack 5. Again, it looks like we're opening pure with these hands, like 8-9 suited, 7-8 suited. Be careful. Like, you won't make a tremendous amount of money. If anything, you might even lose money in this rake. You have to be really good in order to actually make money out of those hands. Because you're going to you're going to get free bet. It's hard to continue. It's hard to make money post. So just be a little bit careful, in my opinion. I'd only be opening them more if you've got tons of. I'd be opening them more in the mid to later positions than the early ones. Or if you've got like really terrible fish or people who are massively overfolding. Excuse me. King 10. I don't mind checking, but in a high rake, I would like to just raise and try and either win it or just play with aggression. Although we do flop an open-ender with a backdoor flush draw, which is nice. I would probably just go ahead and start by betting. We're calling a raise. We're doing everything. Like checking. Like, I would just start building a pot, and also our hand is good. And if we can fold out like 5s, I'm happy. A7 of clubs and shit like that. If we're checking, I would like to mostly check raise, especially with the king of spades in our hand for backup. And the over. So yeah, I can get behind checking range table 2, and then we're calling. Oh, so just a thing. This spot table 2, yeah, we should really be checking basically our entire range. Again, we shouldn't have a hijack call. That's not really a thing. But like cut off call, button call, whatever in position. Sorry, when we're out of position in a SRP, we basically check range. But depending on villain's size and depending on how many backdoor flush draws or pretend flush draws that our hand can have, like potential backdoor bluffing properties is what they are. If we, for example, had like ace king with like heart club or spade heart, for example, we're more likely to have continues. If villain also bets small to half, against small, we're basically always calling most combos. Against half, I think it starts coming down to mostly call, but then depending on what combination you have, and then versus like 3/4 to pot and overbet, just as an example, we then start leveraging more folds. And then if you had like ace king suited with a backdoor flush draw direct, like ace king of hearts, club, spades, it then becomes more of a pure call and then some raises as well. Just as a thing, that's basically what we want to be doing. I don't hate this fold, but I would probably continue most of the time. I don't know what a solver would do. It'd probably be like 70% or something if I had to guess as a call. Against your population, though, you are demolishing their calling range because they float bet you pure, which means they're just probing because you've checked. Population does not, they're not exposed to enough correct check, call, check, raise range. They're just expecting you to check, have like king, queen, and expect you to fold almost 100%. So you actually make money out of him just betting like 9-10 off pure, for example. You actually value check calling. 5s again isn't a pure open, it's 6s up, so be careful. We're not using our RNG. You're in danger of opening too many hands, but again, you're probably not going to be exploited that hard. So this is check through on the turn. We absolutely need to be betting this river. Let's go with a really large size Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's a case of could we overbet? You absolutely could, but against two recreationals, I mean, I'd probably just go like pot. I think pot's probably bang on the money to fold out like what we're trying to make fold. We're throwing trash at this poor guy. It's unfortunate. He's probably a really nice person. Doesn't need to have trash thrown at him. He should have thrown something back at you. The cheek. A7 suited. I suppose you could probably find an aggressive 3-bet there some of the time. $10-7 off, I'd be folding. Jack-6 suited, easy fold. I mean, saying that, I know Queen 5's it's either Jack-6 or Jack-7. You might find an open with Jack-6. I think it's Jack-7, but I mean, fuck it, that's being nitpicky, isn't it? Probably is a fold. Ugh. Folding. A6 easy fold. It's like Ace-5 off, Ace-7 off at low frequency, and then Ace-8 plus is more of an open in the cutoff. Easy fold, Ace-4. Pocket 1s, table 1, I'll take it. That's a good hand last time I checked. Haha, someone's opening in early position as well. More, please, dealer. Like 11, 12, let's go. Facing 3-bet, 8-9 suited is mostly a fold. I wouldn't be worrying, again, like I wouldn't be worrying about like frequencies and stuff, table 1 in this spot, just 3-bet. Just 3-bet, easy. Yeah, 8-9 suited is mostly a fold, table 2, but it's a low frequency call. We should really be range betting table 1. I can get behind the large size. Yeah, we can do a lot of different sizes, table 1. Table 2, so I want to talk about this very quickly. So 9-8 suited, pure open, easy. Against big blind 3-bet, we're mostly just folding because we're just not going to do very well. We're going to be calling a huge 3-bet size, and then we're just not really doing very well on a lot of boards. Anyway, for sake of argument, we've had a call. Let's say we rolled the call. We got here on the 4-4-3. The big blind's supposed to be really polarized. This guy actually looks quite aggressive, 23, 19, 11. So he's probably got a bit of a wider 3-betting range, which is good, I suppose. He decides to check. We've got almost the nut low because technically we like 5-6 is. I mean, okay, let's take the turn away and go back to the flop. But like we would have like 5-6, 6-7, 7-8, 8-9 at low frequency. So and those have equity. 8-9 and 7-8 don't have any equity. We're just so low that we could actually just talk about betting right away here. We could just go for like a half pot size direct because look, with like if he's just got like king queen of spades and checks like he's supposed to, we could just win right now, which is really good. So think about, I know you've got no backdoor flush draw, you've got no equity whatsoever, but we are into, if you think about your range, whenever you're at the nut low effective of your range, that's when you kind of have a green light to go aggressive. Even if you've got nothing, it doesn't matter because you're never going to get here with a worse hand. So that means that you should be aggressive. And then on the flip side, when you're like the higher end of your range, obviously in terms of like bluffing, you don't bluff as much unless you're in 3-bet and 4-bet pots with really good blockers. But anyway, that's for another day. But because we're really low in range, we're really, really bad hand, we know we can fold out some like Ace-X and King-X with no backdoor flush draws and whatnot some of the time. I would just love to see like I don't know, maybe a half pot size as it's a good board. You could probably also bet small. I could probably see you betting like sort of 20 or 30% maybe as well. I think just because we specifically have a hand, I'd prefer to really make villain fold. I'd rather choose one of the larger sizes, but small to medium is what I'm saying. I would be betting this probably pure or close to pure with 9 high like a boss. Anyway, hero does decide to check back. Let's see what villain does on the turn. Deuce isn't great because it means villain's ace highs now pick up equity. However, it's not enough of a reason for me not to want to bet again. I've got 9 high. Villain's checked twice. I have to bet 9 high. So this is where you must bet, and I would bet larger now because you've gone check, check. You're a little bit more polar. Again, we're going to the river with 9 high. We must bluff this river if villain checks. See what he does. Easy fold with the 4s. Please don't overcall. Please don't 3-bet or 4-bet even. You're hovering over it. I don't know why we're looking at stats. We just have a very easy fold. So now I'm really hoping you bluff, right? You must bluff because you got 9 high. You didn't bluff the flop, you didn't bluff the turn. We got here to the river with 9 high. We're above the age of 18, which means we're an adult. Because we're classed as an adult, we bluff rivers. So what do we want to do for sizing? I don't think overbet's any good. I'm trying to think what I'd want to do. I mean, if we're targeting like ace x, king x, we don't need to go nuclear. And we probably don't go too wacky. I'd probably go like half. Maybe like half to 3/4. Probably, no, you know what? Half. I love half here. Just don't give him too much of an excuse to call with like ace, king, ace, queen. We're not repping massive amounts here. I would love us just to go like half pot. Third's a little bit small. It makes it a little bit easy for him just to call with his like, I mean, I don't think he 3-bets 5s and 6s and 7s. We block 8s and 9s, but like just imagine he had like ace high there. It's like he might think about calling, whereas half kind of gets the job done. It also is a bit more credible for what you'd probably want to choose as a size. But anyway, we bet. That's the main thing. So, well, good job for betting, buddy. 9-7, easy fold, table 1. Pocket 7s. So in terms of like these pairs, so it's an easy open with the 7s. You don't call them very often. You're more likely to call deuces 3-5s because they don't open often. And then 6s plus you mostly fold. You do a tiny amount of 4-betting, but you mostly fold and then some call. Because again, you just don't make money with them. You just get bluffed and don't really do a whole bunch. I'd love to see a squeeze here with ace-jack. We do. I like it. I think maybe a little bit smaller. Maybe sort of 14, 15. Unfortunately, we get jammed on. Sag. King Jack, table 1. I suppose we could have thought about maybe doing a small amount of 3-betting. Mostly call with some folds. Again, we're not using an RNG that we have. You guys, again, can't see it at home, but we have an RNG underneath that we're not using at all. So really, we should be using it to think about frequencies if you are doing any studying at all. I'm assuming you do because you have an RNG up. King Jack, we check raise. I suppose I can get behind check raising some of the time. I don't hate it. So this is just one thing to talk about. On the flop, we have jacks, we have deuces, we have... trying to think if I suppose you could have king deuce. We have a bunch of like queen 10 suited and then a couple of gut shots and things like that. Our check raises are very strong, very flush draw heavy, and then should really contain like king jack, jacks and deuces in terms of actual theoretical straight up value. So we're quite polar with the range that we use. The turn is extremely good for range and extremely bad for our hand because obviously we're losing to flushes now, but our range just has so many flushes that get here, whether they call or check raise regardless, that your range is so strong that you actually disregard what your hand is. And if I'm right, I think you just bet your entire range here for a small size, I think. You might say it to yourself at home, well, yeah, but what happens if I bet here and get raised? Well, yeah, it does suck. But at the same time, like checking here and allowing villain to check back with like 6s with a club, for example, or maybe not 6s with a club, but like 9s or 10s with a club, like ace jack with a club. He can have ace king, he can have aces. Like, let's get some value from that. Let's continue betting here with like the queen 10 of hearts, the queen 10 of spades. Let's continue betting with like the ace 10 with a club. Let's continue betting with our flushes and build the pot. You see, that's kind of what our range wants to do, rather than just like, you know, if you play your hand specifically, I know a lot of you at home are going to sort of snap check this 100% of the time, or some of you donuts are going to start sledging. And it's like, it's just easy to bet range for a small size and continue. So Hero's size here is absolutely phenomenal. It's very, very good. Love this size. Also for our hand, I like it too, because it just means we can call raises and it just keeps in the hands that we want to get value from. So I like it. On the river, whoa. So we're clicking on the 75% size. Let's pause again. Now, because we've filtered range. So basically, let's talk about this. We've defended pre. We've check raised the flop against villain. He's called. We've continued for a small size on the turn. So villain's range that we can beat is like ace king, king queen, or like aces, something like that. Maybe ace queen or ace 10. So this is the kind of spot where it's like, I can see why. I mean, I don't know if you're betting here yet, but you're clicking on the 75%. Excuse me. In terms of villain's entire range, he's got a lot of hands that are better than one pair here. He can still have jacks, deuces, kings, ace, king, ace, all the flush combos. Remember, he can have like ace 5. He can have like ace deuce of clubs, ace 3 of clubs, ace 4 of clubs, ace 5 of clubs, ace 6 of clubs, ace 8 of clubs, ace 9 of clubs, ace 10 of clubs. He can have queen 10 of clubs. He can have 5 6 of clubs. He can have 6 8 of clubs. No, I mean not 6 8 of clubs. 8 9 of clubs, and so on and so on and so on. He can also still have kings. He can still have jacks. He can have deuces. He can have the same hand as you. He can also have bluffs. If you don't jam here, if you find a range that is like 2/3, 3/4, and he wakes up with ace queen with a club and jams on you, you get fucked. You get absolutely demolished. I'm not saying someone will do that at 5-L, but I'm just saying that's why you don't have those sizes as much. I would think, if anything, if I'm thinking about hands that want to bet, King Jack probably isn't one of them. I'd probably check here and allow him to bluff and allow him to bet worse. So, for example, if he wants to bet aces or ace king incorrectly, we can make a call. If he gets here with a hand like queen 10 suited, which he absolutely does, we can absolutely bluff catch against that. If villain wants to go ahead and bluff with like ace queen, ace 10 or something with a club, we can allow him to do that. I would rather do that than bomb this and make him fold, or just kind of stick it in with a flush. In my opinion, I think that's kind of the best way to play it. And then we just have loads of flushes here to bet with, don't we? And again, we're kind of mostly betting really, really small or shoving. I think we're actually just kind of doing a lot of really big betting, actually, to be honest. But anyway, as played, we should really just be checking this to induce bluffs and just kind of protect ourselves from either getting binned or getting shoved on for value, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. Really not surprised to get called by better. So that's actually a spot where I would not be surprised if your hand just doesn't want to bet. Honestly, like, just doesn't probably want to bet the river. At micro stakes, you might argue for saying that you get called more than you should by like aces, ace, king, king, queen. But like, if you were going to target that range, I'd rather go like half, for example, in my opinion. So I think that's a little bit of a blunder, actually, as played. Check rate, like call pre, check raise a flop, fine, and so on. But the turn size was perfect. The river's a little bit dusty, in my opinion. What's happened here, table 2? So we've got button small and big blind. You've got a raise, a call with 3-bet. We've got 2 calls. Not great, but the flop is good. I suppose you could kind of do anything on this board. Like we've again, like the queen jack X with the suit. I would think we could probably do some like sort of larger sizes here as well, because we've got more hands like queens and jacks. I suppose we've got queen jack suited. We've got a lot of like ace queens. Also, just your hand specifically would love to go ahead and bet big a lot of the time to charge hands, get it in versus worse, and just kind of protect itself, really. So, yeah, I like that. I can get behind a large size there. Ace deuce of spades. I think we have an easy check. King's an interesting one. We could probably go ahead and bet our range if we wanted to. I don't know multi-way, to tell you the truth, what's the best size. If I was heads up, I'd probably go for a small size, maybe some overbetting, but probably just small. I don't hate this large size, but again, it's kind of like if you're going to get calls from queen jack and 10x and king x, and don't need to go massive. I don't think it's terrible. It's probably a good size, but I probably would have gone like small to medium. Easy pitch, ace 9. How are we doing for time? We've got 3 minutes left on the VOD, so we'll be done in about 5-10 minutes on our video. So we're not going to be reaching an hour, which is nice. I think you've got a low frequency 3-bet with king 6, maybe a super low frequency. We should be defending jack 7. So jack 7 suited should be a pure continue and mixing 3-bets. Even against a 3x, in my opinion, it's good enough. Maybe you incentivize more to 3-bet against a slightly larger size. Queen 8, easy, open in the cutoff. Yes, please. Queen 10, I probably wouldn't ISO. Oh, we're going to fold anyway, but I probably wouldn't ISO versus a limp with Queen 10 off. It's a little bit of a weak hand. I see why you'll want to view the hand, because you want to see what villains are limping with. I just think all these recreationals are too volatile. They just be limping with loads of hands, so it's not super relevant, in my opinion. 3-bet with the deuces, 6s, sorry, mostly folding. You can do some calling. I think there is a smidge of 4-bet, but we're mostly sort of folding with some call. you've got an RNG, so you could RNG sometimes having a call or maybe a 4-bet, but I would think about looking at those. Jet deuces, you fold. Ace king, table 1. This is going to be one of our last hands, I think. I don't think we've got many hands left. Easy 3-bet, obviously. 12, 13, whatever you want. I mean, to be fair, you're against a recreational, so you could even think about going bigger. It's probably just bang on the money with normal size. 13, great. Oh, wobbly flop. So if we were going to bet this, I mean, you can absolutely go ahead and bet big here, bet medium. I suppose there might be some small here also, but we don't really 3-bet 8s. We obviously 3-bet 10s, we 3-bet jacks, 3-bet overbets. We do have a bit of an advantage. Neither of us should have queen 9 or 7-9. I mean, I know this is a fish at 5 and L, so it's kind of less relevant, but strategically for what we want to do, we're doing pretty well on this board. I would think, though, I would prefer to have a diamond if I was going to bet. If I was going to bet, I'd probably bet closer to half, in my opinion. It's not terrible to bet small here, but it's such a dynamic board that we're doing well on, is what I'm saying. Sorry. And a lot of your like nut value hands have missed this board, as in like, you know, your suited ace X. You've got a lot of suited ace X there and kind of weakish hands that haven't hit it very hard. So you don't really get to range bet as much, but you still have a lot of the best hands. So. Queen 6 suited, I think you can just about defend with some 3-bet if you wanted, versus the cutoff. Again, pocket 4s should be a very low frequency open, so just be careful with those. And as you start to open like deuces, 3s, 4s and get 3-bet, you actually defend more against 3-bets. However, you shouldn't. It's only because you shouldn't be opening them like very often. It's like 10, 15% at max. So we can call here. There's probably a tiny smidge of 3-bet and some folding with 9-10 suited. We can call the A7 suited with some 3-bet, I believe. Got a god shot. Won't be folding. So we can have ace-10. We can have 8-9, but so can villain. We can't have queens. We can't have jacks. We can't have 10s. We have less ace-queen. We also have less king-queen, so this is absolutely villain's board, so you have to be very careful. As long as we don't fold, I'm happy. We've got a gut shot. No! So you got a gut shot to the nuts. Villain can just have 5, 6 of hearts here. You must continue. You got ace high, which could just be good. You've got a gut shot to the nuts. You've got equity to the nuts. Pocket 10s, table 1. Open, call, 3-bet. I'm debating, I can see us probably having some 4-bets here and some calls. I'm debating what I'd prefer to do exploitatively. So looking at villain's hand range, he's a 20-15-7, so tag, maybe like kind of middle of the road tag. 300 hands is relative, but not super massive sample. I'm not worried about. We're miles ahead of the recreational flatting range on the button with 10s. I'm debating whether we do any 4-betting here against a small blind in this population. I think I prefer it, honestly. I mean, the thing is, it's like, what's this guy's 3-bet range? It's 7%, and he's got a tight opening. He's got a tight opening range, though. That's what worries me. If we were heads up, I'd like calling here mostly, but because this. Chad, damn you, Chad. Because Chad's kind of called behind it. It's kind of cucked us and put us in a weird spot. Because you call this against a tighter 3-better in position, and you know that this guy's going to mostly call. I know you can't presume what other people will do, but you're gonna be in a horrible spot. Like you're gonna be bang in the middle with a hand that's really not going to be able to continue on most boards, and you're just going to be in a horrible spot. I kind of want to fold or 4-bet, in my opinion, against the population. I would rather 4-bet and just fold out like ace jack, ace queen, ace 10 off, fold out like those types of hands, and also like eliminate this guy from calling behind. And if I get shoved on, I just fold. I think calling just especially against like a kind of correct size. It's probably not awful, but it's just so hard to win the hand. Like, there you go. We just, ugh. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we knew that we were going to be heads up, it's different. But knowing that we're going to have another fish behind, it makes the game very difficult. Very, very difficult. So tens here, I'd be mostly checking back. So this is kind of a bad habit. I just want to say, like, I know what you're doing here, I think. So this is the thing. Villain 3-bet us in the small blind, which is strong anyway. Strategically, exploitatively, both, regardless. He's squeezing the small blind. It is mostly a strong range. It's a range which is going to death interact with ace jack 5. He can have, I mean, any type of player is going to have jacks, aces, ace jack a lot, and they're going to have like queens and kings. Him checking here, this comes down to a question, and it's like, if your population, right, this is what I'm going to say, if your population always checks here to fold, or checks here with like ace 6 suited or something, and then will like fold to the river 100% of the time, then I can get behind betting turn for like half to 2/3 and jamming river 100% of the time. If that's your strategy exploitatively, and I think it's a good strategy against tight regs like this one, exploitatively, I can get behind this. The only thing is, it's a bad habit strategically, because you can just have like king 10 to bluff with. You can have queen 10 to bluff with. You can have like worse hands here. You could have floated and like, you know, whatever. Tens is like, the guy could have just 3-bet like 8s or 9s, or like, you know, he can still have good hands here, by the way. Like, he can still have ace X. He can still just like check the turn. Like, he could just have like ace 10 or like king jack or something and check the turn and then call, whatever. I'm just saying, and you could also be trapped here too. It's kind of a massive overplay. Your hand is kind of like way too high to start turning into a bluff compared to what you could have. He could just range bet the flop with like 5-6 of hearts, and then you just nuke this unnecessarily. Imagine he check jams this with king queen. Like, boom. Or he's got like 6-7 suited or something. But anyway, like, that's probably a bit advanced. But this is just a bit of a dust. It's just a bit too much of a play. If you're doing it exploitatively, and you know, and that's why you're doing it, and you plan on shoving rivers 100% of the time, or most of the time anyway, fine. But apart from that, it's like you could just be good there enough of the time to not bluff, right? It's kind of like unnecessary. Like, you could just have 9s and 8s and 7s there, right? He could just have like, you know. Anyway, like, it's up to you, isn't it? So anyway, we are done for the video, and as always, thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you've got here, well done. It was a longer video today. It's like just under an hour. If you do like the content, please leave a like, please subscribe, leave a comment. Also, the Twitch details for the Twitch are in the description below, and also for the Discord there. So thank you very much, and I'll see you, as always, in the next one. Goodbye.